meeting commences, I would like to acknowledge that we're meeting on the land of the Bidjigal and Gadigal people who occupy the Sydney coast, being the traditional owners. On behalf of the Randwick Local Planning Panel, acknowledge and pay my respects to the elders past and present and to Aboriginal people in attendance today. Good afternoon and welcome to the Randwick Local Planning Panel. I'm the chair of the panel and my name is Stephen Lehman. With me are panel members Stephen Olchin, expert member, Michael Levy, expert member, and Zofia Kuipers, community representative. Prior to the commencement of this meeting, all panel members were required to sign a declaration of interest in relation to each matter on the agenda. I can confirm that all declarations of interest have been received and that no conflicts were identified. Signed declarations of interest will be available to view through Council's website by tomorrow afternoon. Can I ask if there are, the panel members, if there are any further matters to declare? Nothing further? Nothing further. Thank you. Today we have 11 speakers, 11 people registered to address the panel. And these will be heard in the following order. As we don't have councillors, it'll be objectors and then applicants in that order. Each speaker will be given 3 minutes to address the panel. It's the normal practice not to provide an extension, but an extension may be granted for such a number of speakers, but extension of 1 minute may be granted upon request and at the discretion of the chair. No further extension will be granted. The panel has been provided with copies of all of the submissions received in response to the public exhibition of the application. Therefore, there is no need for speakers to repeat all the points made in those submissions. Speakers should focus on the key matters they wish us to understand and consider, including any suggestions about how their concerns could be resolved. The applicant may wish to comment on issues raised in the Council's report and provide a response to the proposed conditions, and this would be in addition to 3 minutes to a general address to the panel. After each speaker has addressed the panels, I ask that the speaker remain in place and that in case the panel members may have questions or comments to clarify any matters. Only registered speakers will be allowed to speak and respond to questions from the panel. Any person using defamatory or offensive language may be asked to leave the meeting or the meeting may be adjourned. An audio recording is being made of this meeting and we ask that speakers use the microphone on their device when addressing the panel to ensure that their comments are recorded. The audio recording will also be available, through Council's website by tomorrow afternoon. After all registered speakers have been heard, the panel will deliberate and vote on each matter in a closed session. There are 2 items on today's public meeting. The first application to be considered is D37/26. It's DA 1416/2025. It's a proposal at 17 to 21 Lexington Place, Maroubra. On my list, we have no councillors speaking, I understand, and so the first objector on my list is Jessica McMenemy. Could you please address the panel?
Hello. Hello?
Hello, yes. Yeah, Jessica?
Hi. Yes.
Hello. Yes, please go ahead and tell us your concerns about this application at Lexington Place.
I'm probably going to be under the 3 minutes, but my objection is for the negative social impact that not having Lexington Place Bakery will have on the community. I personally have witnessed young people go there as somewhere for safeness when they felt unsafe. There was a girl getting followed. She went there. It was a safe place for her to wait. Lexington Place Bakery really does help the community in a large scale. Every beach cleanup I've ever been a part of, I found out through Lexington Place Bakery. I actually got to speak to police officers about the concerns that's happening in the community because Lexington Place Bakery hosted an event there, Coffee with Police Officers. It's more than just a bakery. It's really a social hub. If that's taken away, I really don't know, A, where a lot of us are going to get our information, and B, where we're going to be able to have, the basics of affordable white bread that's not, fully processed with chemicals and stuff. Jenny and Jay, who run the bakery, are probably the most welcoming people I've ever met. And I really worry about what's going to happen to the area if it gets taken away. I understand that, how do I put it? I understand that it's a business, but it's more than that to the community. They really are friends to everyone. And yeah, that's all I have to say. I just really hope that they can stay there.
Thank you, Jessica. The panel may have questions. Panel members, are there any questions or comments? Thank you, Jessica. I'll call on the next objector, Samantha Chow. Could you speak, please, and tell us your concerns about the proposal at 17 to 21 Lexington Place?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, thank you. Samantha, please.
Sorry, I was trying to go through my headphones. I'm having a bit of technical.
We can hear you.
Yep.
Do you want us to come back to you?
Hello.
Are you right?
Yeah, no, I'm right. Sorry, I was having a bit of technical difficulty. Sorry about that.
Sure,
Piggybacking on the back of Jessica's statement, I was also a child that grew up in Lexington Place myself that utilised Jenny's Bakery about from 13 years ago onwards. And I do now have young children that do go there as their safe space. I do. It's the space itself has been there that long that it's actually made the other shops safe to come and be there. If you look at the history of Lexington Place, all the shops have come and all the shops have gone. Now, Jenny has stayed there for over 13 years and she has provided for this community. She has made such a name and such a presence for herself and her family in that community that it's welcomed all of us. We've all accepted Jenny's Bakery. We've all come together and been involved in there. And I'll be honest with you, most of the time, it's the Randwick City Council trucks that are sitting out the front utilising this shop as well. So all your street sweepers and all your people cleaning up the community are sitting there utilising Jenny's Bakery as well. So it's not like it's just a housing wash-off or however you're basing it. It's not like it's just for bad. If you look at the positive sides of what Jenny actually brings, you'd be surprised at how much of a community it's brought together. Because there's so many different speakers here, and I have much every single one of them at Jenny's when I've been there before, I'm going to stop here because that is my safe space for both me and my children, 3 of them that I have. And I'm going to let the other community members in this chat also have a say of what they say so I don't take over all the points.
Thank you, Samantha. I should add that if there's no need to repeat concerns and issues made by the previous speaker, you can just say that you agree with them and you support them, and that's sufficient. So the next speaker.
Yeah.
Okay, so thanks. I don't think there's any questions for the. No. Are there any questions for Samantha? Samantha? No, there's no questions for you. Thanks, Samantha. I'll call on the next speaker. The next on my list is Kevin Nuzum. I've pronounced your name correctly, Kevin. Are you there? Kevin, N-U-Z-U-M. Doesn't seem to be there. Do we have Kevin?
I can see Kevin.
We have Kevin? Kevin, can you hear us? Kevin.
Hello.
Oh, there we go.
Kevin, yes, is that you, Kevin?
Hello. Yep. Can you hear me?
Stephen Lehman speaking.
I can hear you.
You can. Do you say?
Hello.
He said, can you hear me? Yes, we can.
Yes, we can hear you. Thank you.
Okay.
Can you hear us?
Thank you for the opportunity to speak. We've owned that property on the right-hand side of that proposed development, which used to be Paddy's Meat Mart Holdings butcher shop. For just on 50 years, we've had it. My biggest concern is not developing, and I agree Lexington Place does need a lot of development done down there, which would improve a lot of things. But from my biggest concern is putting this new development up, which will go all the way to the back lane, puts me in the middle of a ghetto, if you know what I mean. I've got nothing. There's no light. All the light will be taken away. It'll be, I reckon it'll be detrimental to my property there and become virtually worthless and nothing to be able to do to it. As I agree with development, and it does, it'd be good to see a lot of development along there with units put on top, which would be good for the community around there too, and more housing available, which would be great. And I've never had a problem in Lexington Place in the 50 years that we've owned that property. We've never, ever had a problem going on with anything or anybody. And to this day. So, to me, Lexington Place is still a great place. I always find it's more the people that come from the outside in than the people all around it. So, but my biggest concern is what it will do, impact on my property, which will be in between 2-3-story buildings. And I thank you for the opportunity.
Understood. Just hold your seat for the minute there, Kevin. There may be some questions from the panel.
Yeah.
I certainly have got a question for you in relation to has the applicant for this matter approached you regarding, amalgamating your site with his, and what form has that taken?
No, nobody's approached me.
Nobody's approached you at all?
No. I'm quite willing for a conversation like that if it was to involve my property along with his. Like his father's owned that. I think he might have, at the same time we purchased the property back then, or he might have had it a bit longer than we've had it, right? And he's back years ago, and I've been about 15 years with real estate, taking real estate people down there telling me, oh, we can get this done. We've made inquiries to different owners, and to his father, we approached him. And at the time, he wasn't interested in doing any development down there.
When was that? That was a while ago, some time ago, was it?
Oh, I've been trying for 15 years. I've taken real estate people down there. We approached his father. I got all the names of all the other owners along there. There's a lot of people interested in, doing something. But while you've got one, maybe two that object to it,
Sure.
You can't move forward. Now, as we know, and I can go back to that the corner building on the right-hand side that was built illegally 40 odd years ago and had to sit there because it was never given a DA to be put up, if you know what I mean. I know a lot of history down there, and it's just a pity. I'd like to see it go forward. I would like to it'd be great to go back to what it used to be. Before we had East Gardens and all that, it was a great striving shopping centre. Two supermarkets, TAB, Commonwealth Bank, post office, newsagents, deli. Anyway, that's history.
More questions for you from the panel.
Yeah.
There is a question. No.
Just Stephen Alton here, just following on from your comments. If I've understood you correctly, you've shown people around from real estate agents in the past. Do you have do you have any, I suppose, what are your thoughts about the development of your own property in the foreseeable future? Do you have any plans?
I'd like to be able to develop it, but it's very hard. If you turn around and allow next door to do what they're proposing, what I've got then in the middle of, I'm in between 2-3-story buildings, right, which go all the way to the back lane. It doesn't on the left-hand side now, and it's open and fresh air and everything comes through. You know, to me, sorry.
No, after you, sorry.
No, if the development went through, I'd be quite happy to have the conversation with the owner now who's taken over his son, right, to maybe go in and develop it with him. Or even if he wants to buy me out and say, I'll take it on myself and do the rest. But no one's approached me about it.
Okay,
Thank you.
thanks very
Thank
much.
you.
I think, is there any other question?
No, I think there'll be a question for the applicant, but the report is suggesting to us that approach has been made,
Yeah.
valuations
Yeah,
prepared, but I've heard from you twice now that you haven't had approaches or any of that information provided.
We'll have a question for the applicant about that.
So,
So, thanks very much, much appreciated. Can I call on Trung Nguyen Nguyen now to speak, please? Trung Nguyen? Are you there?
Hello, hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, Trung.
Hello, good afternoon,
Yes,
panel and good afternoon, panel member. My name is Trung Hoan Nguyen. I am the owner of the Jaden Bakery, and which many local residents know as Lesson Bakery or Jenny Bakery. And you know, our bakery have served the Maroubra community for more than 13 years until now. So I would like to thank to the council that for carefully considering this development application and listening to the concern of local resident and business owners. Our bakery is more than a business, and it's a place where the local people miss talk and support to each order. And many of our customers are elderly residents, local families, and people who live nearby. My family also live in the same building, and we have 2 young children. The older is 9 years old, and the younger is only 5 years old right now. And this proposal would have a significant impact on our family and our business and many people in the local community. So to be honest, it really impact to our financially if we have to move out. And I respectfully the support of the council thought recommendation, and then please thank you for your consideration about this one.
Okay, just hold the phone for a minute there. Are there any questions, panel, for this speaker? No, thank you. No questions for you. Thanks very much.
Thank you for that. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. Finally, I have for the objectors, amongst the objectors, Crystal Fitzgerald. Crystal, can you address the panel, please?
Yes. Yes. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Well, I would like to object because I don't want to see Jenny's go. It is a huge support to the community. I am myself had a stroke, suffered from a stroke. Anyway, so it's good for me. Anyways, there's lots of people in and around this place that have got disabilities, elderlies, and it's just easier to walk down, get a fresh loaf of bread, get a fresh roll, and Jenny and Jay are so lovely. They're not just, it's not just a bread shop. I could probably go to another one. I like going to this one because I like you know, and they're always opened. They're always open, even on public holidays. So you can always rely on them. There's more that I could say, but I think Samantha and Jessica's covered it, what I was going to say anyways, but yeah.
You support what they said, yes?
Yeah, I support what they said. I support what they
Yep.
said.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Panel, are there any questions or comments for this person? No. Thank you, Crystal.
Thank you.
Thanks very much.
Thank you.
And I'll call on Anthony Betros, speaking on behalf of the applicant. Could you address the concerns of the raised by the residents, please, Anthony?
Good
First of all,
afternoon.
we'll give you 3 minutes after that. Okay.
Thank you, panel members, and thank you for the opportunity to speak today. I probably should first address Mr. Nusman's address today. That did come as quite a surprise, and I was on the phone to our client during this discussion in the background, because that came as a complete surprise that there'd been no recognition of any contact. As you would see in Appendix 5 in Council's report on page 99, there is an extract of the letter of offer by registered post, where evaluation was done. The valuation was provided with an 8% above market value offer. So certainly that does come as a surprise. Otherwise, we would have been keen to try and come to some sort of amalgamated option. It would make the parking, etc., more straightforward, and you'd get obviously a more cohesive streetscape outcome. Notwithstanding that, the architects, in my opinion, have provided a decent infill development, which is shown in Council's report, and I hope you've had opportunity to read our submission that was provided to you before the meeting in the request to seek approval of the application. Thank you. Both myself and the owners are well aware of this district. We're both from the district and have lived here all our lives, and are also aware of the main issue that is associated with this and the loss of Jenny's Bakery. It's very much, there's nothing certain at this point. There's no approval in place. It is understood that there will be a new development, but what goes back in there, and the client is obviously considering the concern of the residents, is more than willing to discuss things with Jenny. But obviously there would be a downtime if construction were to occur. Council's report has also addressed that issue quite well, I believe, as you would have seen. When we started this application, we went to the Design Excellence Panel, and I've got to say, after 25 years of attending the panel, I can honestly say this is probably the most supportive set of comments I've ever had or experienced with an application. The description was that this is a positive prototype and could generate future similar development of an appropriate infill form. The lack of impact on surrounding properties certainly also provides you with the opportunity to endorse the application. We did have an RFI through the DA process, and I note one of the reasons of refusal did relate to acid sulfate soils. We are the lowest classification, and we did have a geotech report, and we feel that could be addressed by condition or a deferral. Obviously, we'd prefer approval, but the deferral could also deal with the other issues raised, such as private open space. And I did speak to the architect. The units are slightly oversized, and that was to benefit the potential for NDIS. So they are above the minimum requirements under the ADG, whilst the area of the private open spaces are more or less at the minimum. We feel they more or less satisfy private open space requirements. One of the other criticisms or reasons of refusal was the lack of communal open space. As you probably would have gone past, Coral Sea Park is just up the road. It's got every facility that you could want. Each of the units are provided with appropriately sized private open space areas. The site also has the benefit of that large communal courtyard area, which also contributes to the amenity of those apartments while not being on their title, and that's also been recognised in the panel comments. I think the montages tell the story of how appropriate the proposal would fit in the streetscape environment along Lexington Place and also to the rear along the Asia Way. Would provide for significant improvement to the quality of housing on the site. You're probably aware of a lot of the issues in the area, and it's feel that this would actually provide, a trigger to benefit the local area. And certainly don't take the comments from the community lightly, and nor does the applicant and owner of the property. Hopefully the submission we provided addressed you on the issues why it was not recommended for approval. I'm happy to answer any further questions. Thank you.
All right. Okay. Well, I'll see if the panel, do we have any questions for the applicant?
Just one question, if I could. In preparing the proposal and particularly looking at additional FSR, was any consideration given to the inclusion of a affordable housing component, which in itself does allow for additional floor space ratio?
Yeah, that was put to the applicant. We've done quite a few of those developments within the council area. You'll note the application includes a couple of basement levels, and it just was not feasible, unfortunately. So notwithstanding that, the applicant has made it NDIS capable, and we provided information with the application on that behalf, which in our opinion, while not providing for affordable housing, certainly can provide for a social benefit. So it certainly was something, we didn't just put the application in with a degree of variation to that extent lightly. And I think that was also recognised in the DAP comments, which are really supportive of the infill nature of the proposal. Thank you.
I'll just a quick comment. What's the connection between basement levels and the ability to provide affordable housing?
In terms of construction costs, the construction costs in this area and the value of the properties, this area has lain dormant for 30 or 40 years, with the exception of.
No, that's not answering the question.
I'm trying to, at 1-to-1, the development is not feasible, and that with building a basement and the only way to make this feasible and actually make something happen in this area, which is crying out for it, is to provide this extent of yield. That if this doesn't get approved, it won't go ahead, or it'll sit like that forever. We have, as you would have seen in the submission, we did also write to the draft DCP and say this area should be increased to 1.5-to-1, given the support of the panel to the built form itself, and also if council wants to see something happen in this area.
Yeah, I still don't know what it means.
Well, so our client has been preparing this DA for 2 or 3 years, and I'll certainly put the affordable application process to them, and it just doesn't stack up. That nothing will happen if you don't get this type of yield on the site. And again, given the positive comments of the fit and the lack of impact, there's certainly a pathway to support the application via clause 4.6.
Panel, are there any further questions? Yes, there is.
Thank you, Chair. I've got a question about the communal open, a combination of issues actually. Communal open space, or the lack of it, the size of some of the balcony areas, and I think the report makes also some commentary around conformance with the solar access provisions of the ADGs. And it leads me to wonder, did you look at a development that was perhaps a bit smaller, 9 units rather than 10, that might have addressed some of those issues? And it also partly goes to one of the other themes in the council officers report, which is that although the development of the further to the, which would be, I think it was the west, was approved at an FSR of 1.5-to-1, but that was with affordable housing. The issue that comes through for me in the officer's report is a concern that a 49%, I think it was, variation on the FSR is essentially an erosion of the merits or the case for the FSR and the planning controls. The other development went ahead because of the state environmental planning policy. So I suppose my central question is, to what extent did you look at another form of development that might have been had a little less floor space that would have provided perhaps some communal open space, perhaps better balconies and so on?
Yeah, we did look at the provision of potentially on the roof on another level with a recessed level, but we were trying to keep the height down to be pretty consistent with the general 3-storey appearance in that section. You'll note that 6 of the 10 do have north facing, so they're getting flooded with solar access. The skylights over the 2 at the rear, in our opinion, obtain solar access, which gives you 8 out of 10, which is more than the 70%. And as I did write, if council or the panel were minded, we could increase the extent of those clerestory pop-ups to increase solar access and ensure that there's no question of the 80%. Certainly you could reduce the yield and provide larger than required private open space areas, which is one of the reasons under the ADG to vary or even waive the communal aspect. But given that you've got the benefit of the courtyards as well, those landscaped areas which all the units have the benefit of, as well as the proximity to the Coral Sea Park, on balance it's considered they're acceptable in its current form, but certainly you could look at that suggestion. You'd probably again have to cut down the yield, and again whether that'd be something for the applicant in terms of viability, but yeah, I hear what you say.
Thank you.
Any further questions, panel? No. Thank you, Mr. Petros.
Thank you, panel. Have a good day.
Thank you. Next item in the public meeting is item D 38/26. It's a DA number 194 of 2026 for 1A Waltham Street, Coogee. I have 4 objectors and an applicant to speak. First on my list is Glenn Evans. Glenn Evans, objector. Are you there, Glenn Evans?
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, thank you.
Good afternoon. I'm Glenn Evans, speaking on behalf of the residents of 4 Ashes Street with support from other Ashes Street residents. We thank the council for this opportunity to address the panel and acknowledge the detailed and comprehensive DA report prepared by council. We strongly support council's recommendation of refusal for this DA. Our objection is based on 6 clear grounds. Taken together, these impacts confirm the proposal is an overdevelopment of the site and should not proceed in its current form. Excessive building height and bulk. The proposal is plainly too large for the site and for this part of Ashes Street. It reads as a 5-storey building and the so-called basement should be tested against the Randwick LEP definition rather than accepted at face value. If it is a 5-storey, the larger ADG setbacks must apply. Its scale would dominate the streetscape, diminish the visual primacy of Maidstone House, and sit well outside the character of surrounding residential area. Inadequate side and street setbacks. The proposal does not comply with the setbacks required by the Apartment Design Guide, despite claiming that it does. Habitable rooms are shown only about 3 metres from 2 Ashes Street, whereas 6 metre setbacks should be provided. That shortfall causes real harm to neighbouring amenity and sets poor precedent for future development along Ashes Street. The claimed 10.5 metre setback to Ashes Street is also misleading because the proposal still presents a high garage wall close to the street that's inconsistent with the established Ashes Street frontage and the heritage wall character. Overshadowing and solar impact. Because of its excessive height and non-compliant setbacks, the proposal would impose unreasonable overshadowing on neighbouring homes and private open space in Ashes Street, especially... Sorry, can you still hear me?
Yeah, I can still hear you. I'm not sure what that noise is. It's not going to come our end, I don't believe.
Okay, it'll go off in a minute. I think it's someone calling. Because of the excessive height and non-compliant setback, the proposal would impose unreasonable overshadowing on neighbouring homes and private open space in Ashes Street, especially 2 Ashes Street. The applicant's own material shows a loss of direct sunlight in winter. It's a clear reduction in residential amenity and is not justified. The proposal would cause serious overlooking and noise impacts, especially from the pool in the southwest corner. Habitable rooms, balconies, roof level spaces would look directly into neighbouring yards and private open space, particularly in Asher Street. The privacy screening shown is not demonstrated to be effective, and some private open spaces also appear not to have compliant setbacks. Neighbours should not be expected to absorb that level of intrusion. Inadequate deep soil area. The proposal does not provide enough deep soil area for meaningful tree planting, screening or landscape softening. Too much of the site is taken up by basement and hard surfaces. Not enough is left for landscaping or permeability. That reinforces the sense that this is an overbuilt scheme. The driveway entrance and servicing in Asher Street. The proposed basement entry in Asher Street is the wrong solution for a narrow residential street. It would worsen traffic, safety and amenity impacts, and the waste collection arrangement is equally unsuitable because the Asher Street footpath is too narrow for the required bins without affecting accessibility, and the proposal would likely benefit from a singular vehicle entrance off Waltham Street, the more appropriate location for access and servicing. For these,
interrupt you there, sorry. We've had the 3 minutes. Can you wind up now within a minute, please?
yes, a recommendation. Reduction in height and bulk of both building 1 and 2 reduces the need for excessive basement parking. Subsequent removal of the pool from the southwest corner enables further area for deep soil permeability and canopy cover. This reduction also makes the request for basement access off Waltham Street more feasible. Thank you.
Okay, just hold your position. Panel, do we have any questions for this speaker? Was there any concerns about waste management that we might put to the applicant?
Yeah.
We may have some questions for the applicant. Thank you very much, Glenn.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks very much. And can I ask Chelsea Watt to explain her concerns to the panel in relation to this application, please? Chelsea
Hello.
Watt. Hello, Chelsea.
Hi, yes. Okay, great. Good afternoon, Chairperson, members of the panel. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. I fully support everything Glenn has just said in our objections. I will try my best not to repeat any of that and just give a bit more of a personal touch. I live directly next door at 2 Asher Street, so will be the most impacted property or negatively impacted property by this development. And just the excessive bulk, height and scale causes immense follow-on effects with the overshadowing, catastrophic loss of solar access, all of those negative impacts. And also it's just not in line with the desired future character of the area, and the visible loss to the heritage house on the block with the bulk and the lack of setbacks of the development, and the privacy impacts. I think there's some terraces and huge windows south facing directly onto 2 Asher and those Asher Street semis on the south side that are unnecessary, and some terraces that don't have adequate privacy screenings in the diagrams. But for me personally, the lack of solar access is already quite negative in the current footprint. So an even larger construction is making that solar access, particularly in winter between those hours of 9 and 3, even less so for my habitable areas, even though I note that all my windows were classified as non-habitable, which I disagree with. They're my bedrooms and my living room. And I think I might pause there. I think Glenn covered a lot of that, so I really didn't want to repeat it, but I pretty much have the same written down, so I'll pause. Thank you very much.
We'll see if there's any questions for you from the panel. Any questions or comments for this speaker? No, thank you, Chelsea.
Thank you.
No questions from the panel. Thank you. We may have some for the applicant. Next objector, James Lawrence. Could you address the panel, please, on about your concerns?
Can you hear me?
We can hear you, yes.
Excellent, thank you.
So,
well, good afternoon, Chair and panel members, and thank you for the opportunity to speak today regarding the DA for 1A Waltham Street. My name's James Lawrence. My wife Holly and I are the residents and owners of 5 Asher Street. Asher Street's a close community with only 9 addresses in the block that's shared with 1A Waltham Street. We'd like to acknowledge and thank Council staff for their thoroughness in identifying the primary non-compliances within this proposal. Council has correctly detailed the structural risks to Maidstone House and the lack of sympathy to the heritage of that building. Excuse me, the bulk and visual dominance of the new buildings, major breaches of FSR and deep soil access, inadequate setbacks and excess height. Notably, the report lists 45 specific sections of the Randwick Development Control Plan where this application fails to comply, alongside a clear call out of multiple missing or deficient technical reports. We strongly support Council's recommendation for a refusal based on these documented breaches and wish to mention some additional critical material impacts. In addition to vibration risk during construction, the proposed 9-metre excavation for the basement permanently introduces unaddressed environmental risks regarding groundwater drawdown, threatening the stability of neighbouring foundations and local vegetation. The applicant failed to submit an acoustic report, so there's no objective testing of the cumulative noise impacts from increased residential density or mechanical plant. Council's engineers have identified inconsistencies between landscape and architectural drawings at the Asher Street entrance. In addition, there's no swept path analysis for the finished project. It's likely that multiple on-street parking spaces opposite the development's driveway will need to be removed, exacerbating the already difficult parking situation. The driveway alignment ensures that vehicle headlights exiting the site at night will shine directly into the bedroom windows of our neighbours at 1 Asher Street, causing unacceptable disturbance and impact on visual privacy. The solar assessment is deficient. The submitted plans show shadows extending across much of our property at 5 Asher Street in winter. However, the applicant omitted the built form of the dwelling at that address and several others from their shadow diagrams. Hence, the solar assessment misrepresents the overshadowing impact on those properties' living spaces. The Council's report provides clear and overwhelming grounds for refusal. The real-world impacts on local infrastructure, solar access, and adjoining properties run even deeper. So we request that the panel adopt the recommendation for refusal. Thank you.
Thank you, James. Panel, are there any questions for James Lawrence? Comments? No, thank you, James. Can I ask now Bill Vasilis to address the panel and explain your concerns? We have Bill Vasilis. Like it?
Good afternoon. How are we?
We're well, thank you.
Look, realistically, Glenn, Chelsea, James, they've pretty well said it, everything in a nutshell so far. The only thing left I can turn around and say is that, you know, if the area is overcrowded as it is, you can't go down Asher Street and swing into Waltham Street 90% of the time because people are taking every inch of parking up. And you're putting, what is it, 12 more dwellings in there with only limited parking spaces. Where's everyone else going to go? The construction phase of all of this, it's, if you're talking the excavation they're looking at, that's going to be 9 months of constantly thumping into the ground. And through all the plans and everything, I haven't seen anywhere or any study on anything to do with a plant room that's going to be servicing the entire complex, let alone a study on what an extra 15 more cars is going to impact the area, because there's nothing in the paperwork there saying it. And realistically, everything else has already been mentioned quite comprehensively.
Thank you. Thank you, Bill. I'll just see if there's any questions for you. Questions, comments? No, thank you, Bill. I think you have it has been said, the issues have been clearly ventilated. We might ask the applicant to address those, please. We have Jessie Z on behalf of the applicant. Can you introduce yourself, please, Jessie? Tell us what your interest is, how you're acting for the applicant.
Yes, good afternoon, panel. Good afternoon, all. James McBride, planning consultant on behalf of the planner. Also on the call, William Saville from Cortez Kilda, who's the project architect. Just in relation to some of the high-level remarks made by the community. In terms of overshadowing, just quickly, I think council did sort of request further shadow analysis as part of the assessment report, and we've provided the detailed requirements that were requested of us per the pre-DA minutes that we had with council very early on. So I think that if there are any sort of information gaps there in terms of having windows and so forth about particularly to Asher Street, we're happy to sort of look into that a bit further. In terms of general bulk and scale, I don't want to get into every detailed issue, but just in terms of general bulk and scale, the proposal, whilst it does have elements that do exceed the planning requirements in the LEP, particularly height and marginally height, it's largely consistent with the bulk and scale and the character already established within Asher Street in this part of Coogee. Having said that, we have submitted amendments to the panel, which you would have received this morning by council staff, to try to resolve some of those issues that have been raised by council staff. I'll get William to maybe talk to the more detailed design issues that have been raised by both council and the community members. But I suppose I just wanted to sort of acknowledge, firstly, on behalf of the applicant, Missionaries of the Sacred Heart, that we're here today not to talk specifically to the merits of the proposal, but to talk to the assessment process that we have experienced with council, and we respectfully request that the panel appreciate, I suppose, that experience and acknowledge our request to have this matter deferred so we can respond to those issues. At the outset, we do acknowledge council's workload and the minister's expectations around determination timeframes. And we have had a generally good experience with council staff who we have had direct interface with. We do, however, ask that the panel consider how this has been, how this assessment has progressed. You all know the application was lodged in February. It went through a design excellence advisory panel in April, and feedback there was generally positive, subject to some written feedback, which we understand we will need to address. However, council's first position on this application was only communicated to the proponent on the 15th of May. That wasn't through a formal request for information, and there was no requirement for us to respond. Instead, they sought that we withdrew the application on the premise that we would work with them on resolving those issues in a new application. We do feel that is procedurally unfair. We do think that there should be an opportunity, despite council's view that potentially the issues were insurmountable in their opinion. We don't believe that is the case. We think we can seek resolution of those matters. And we've engaged in good faith at every stage of the process, from the pre-DA to lodgement, through the course of the assessment period, to demonstrate our willingness to collaborate with council. So in closing, I just want to say we are, again, we're willing to work with council and to address some of those community concerns, and we respectfully ask the panel to defer this matter on that basis. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Carol, do we have any questions or comments for this speaker?
I was hoping to raise the issue of the decision to put the entrance to the main car park on Asher Street, which is clearly a very narrow street. There have been a lot of submissions from the community, objections highlighting the restrictive nature of that street. Quite a few photos of garbage trucks which barely fit on that laneway. I was just wondering if you were able to explain why the entrance is on Asher Street and not Waltham.
I'm happy to, unless William, you'd be better suited to that.
Yeah, James, I can.
Can you introduce yourself, please, and tell us what your interest is in this matter?
Hi, panel. Yes, my name's William Saville, and I'm the project architect director on behalf of Office of Courtiers and Gilder, and obviously representing the applicant, the Missionaries of Sacred Heart, who unfortunately couldn't be here today. Look, just to directly respond to your question there in regard to the vehicle entrance. So we did look at some various studies. Principally, the current vehicle access for the site is in that existing location proposed in the southeast corner. So it was really driven initially by preserving the current location. Of course, given the heritage sensitivities of Maidstone House, to relocate that onto Waltham would put that directly, that volume of traffic and that sort of the size of vehicle entry that would be required would put that in the forefront of Waltham House, of Maidstone House. Of course, Waltham Street itself is at a steep incline. So to exacerbate those kind of issues by positioning the main entrance for the residential flat buildings that are proposed on Waltham Street was seen as not desirable. Just to very quickly respond to kind of recognising sort of a comment that was made in relation to this about the footprint or the built form of that vehicle entrance. We would again sort of acknowledge that there is an existing retaining wall or garden wall that sits on the boundary in that location. That's sort of the height of which we're not in excess of. So there is a built form that boundary wall that exists in that location. Our new vehicle entrance actually set back by 1 metre as well. So actually, in terms of a comparison to the existing, we're actually an improvement, we believe, on the existing condition. And in the report, we would have provided, and hopefully you would have seen, extensive view analysis, which shows the before and after views that demonstrates that what we believe to be an improvement on based on the in comparison to that existing condition.
Thank you. Any further questions from the panel?
Yes.
Yeah.
Question, thanks. With the planners suggesting that you'd like to see the panel defer the application, I'm just wondering, having had a look at the council's assessment report and having heard the concerns from residents, just what types of changes you may be considering that you'd want to implement by way of a deferral?
Yeah, sure. William, I'll let you take that one then.
Sure. Yeah. Thanks, James. So, I can sort of answer that. So, so we've submitted as James alluded to, we submitted, I believe yesterday, a full sort of scope of design changes that are proposed in the form of an amended scheme, which does include, in terms of that built form, various reductions in the built form to increase setbacks and building separation between the two proposed buildings, the two apartment buildings, to increase building separation, increase visual privacy, and also to increase setbacks to the heritage. It also increases communal open space and deep soil. We do recognise one of the comments that hasn't been touched on as yet is a heritage concern around the subdivision of the site. That was primarily done as a means to sort of safeguard and the heritage house under its own title. Now, we recognise that there's some philosophical differences of opinion here. The heritage officer from council has specifically requested that site is not subdivided and the entire site is left under its own title. So we're willing to work with council to discuss that further, but we have presented an option at this stage that shows the site remaining as an amalgamated site. Obviously, that then sort of allows a lot of that deep soil that was previously retained and safeguarded in front of the heritage house to the east and to the north. facing Asher and Waltham Street to be considered as part of that broader deep soil space, and some of that communal open space that we understand is required. We're happy to kind of look at the pool, and we've actually included some modifications to the pool to increase building separation there. There was also a comment made by the Heritage in regard to the pool on the Mason House site, and that proximity or position in front of Maidstone House, which we've also removed that as well, and that also addresses comments in regard to the impact on trees. So by removing that pool, we believe that's going to mitigate any issues in relation to the preservation of one of those trees that was raised in particular of concern by council. So look, as to kind of reiterate what James is saying, we're very much willing and would like to work with council to work collaboratively to make modification to scheme to address obviously council's comments, but also obviously the community feedback that's been raised to date. We're obviously sorry to hear some of those comments from the community. We obviously don't want to we want for this to be a legacy for the MSC. We don't want to do anything obviously that is in contrary to those to that community's sentiment. The MSC has been on the site for nearly 100 years. And this is very much about how they leave a lasting legacy on the site to that next generation. Obviously, the MSC and the Catholic Archdiocese have had a long-standing contribution to the area through their sort of mission and community-focused kind of activities in the area. And they're very sympathetic to any of these concerns that would want to work collaboratively with council to address them through the current DA. So as James said, we share the view that we would like consideration given to a deferral at this stage to allow us to do that within that current DA pathway.
If I could just add to that, and does that include changes relevant to the interface and relationship with Asher Street? And I'm just wondering what design approach you took, in that it's quite clear when you stand on the street and look at the existing cottages and then the development next door with quite narrow setbacks. So what approach were you taking on that part of the site to transition with the balance of Asher Street?
Yep, there's a few points I can make there. Again, and obviously, sorry, Chelsea, to hear some of your concerns. In regard specifically the boundary wall, could we note there was a comment around the boundary wall? So currently that boundary wall does straddle the boundary. The proposal intends to rebuild that boundary to kind of obviously enclose the proposed new basement, and does that entirely within its footprint. So we have actually sort of shifted that boundary wall across. Now, of course, if that would require some temporary works on to Asher Street to facilitate the construction of that. If that were not to be desired, or that new wall not to be desired, we're happy to kind of explore shifting that basement retaining wall further inbound of our site to avoid any kind of works on to Asher Street. To specifically respond to some of the comments in regard to solar, I think we did do a sort of an analysis obviously of solar. I think currently the private open space to Asher Street gets around 4 hours based on our analysis in that winter solstice. I think the current scheme gets around 3 hours. Of course, the design changes that propose, which include a further increase to the rear setback of the Waltham Street RFB, would actually increase that extent of solar to Chelsea's garden. So obviously that we would be happy to sort of do that. In regard to the building, that I think there was a comment around the fact that it has a 3 metre setback, the building on Asher Street to the south of Maidstone House. Obviously it's quite tricky. There is obviously an existing unoriginal building there, which this building largely replaced and largely is in kind of in alignment sort of to. So there is an existing precedent for building that sort of sits in that site and that setback that's being proposed. We have obviously the comment around the AD. It's kind of that's a 3 metre setback. All the windows along that facade are screened. So while there are some habitable rooms facing that setback, they're all either fully, they've got a solid wall or they're screened. So we believe that addresses specific issues in regard to sort of visual privacy. But as we said, there is a built form that largely kind of sits within that footprint.
I think there's clearly a number of matters that need to be addressed. And I guess what's on the panel's mind is what's the best mechanism to achieve the resolution of those matters. You seek a deferral. There are other pathways by way of a review if a determination is made, or I think there's still an opportunity to withdraw the application and negotiate with council and then relodge. We will need to consider those alternatives in light of the residents' concerns and the minister's expectations about determination timeframes. So I think let's leave it at that for the moment. We'll give that some consideration and we'll make our determination within a couple of business days. Thank you.
Thank you.
That's all I had on the list. That concludes the public part of today's meeting. As I said, we will now retire to confer and make a determination on the matters and also the matters that we've just heard of it and on matters on the electronic agenda. So I thank you for your contributions. It's much appreciated. And I declare the public section of the meeting closed at 2:05 p.m. Thank you.
Thank you.